Picture yourself as a bird, contending with numerous others. If you possess a sturdier beak than your peers, you gain access to new food source. In this scenario, your beak grants you distinct advantage. You will survive while your peers with softer beaks do not. This is the essence of the world's brutal reality, the survival of the fittest. The Origin of Species is a groundbreaking scientific work written by Charles Darwin and first published in 1859. It is a cornerstone of modern biology and presents the theory of evolution by natural selection. The book explores the idea that all species of life on Earth share a common ancestry and have evolved over time through a process of descent with modification. Let's discuss 8 key concepts and ideas from this book. Idea number 1. Variation under domestication. Human selection is the driving force behind the creation of domestic breeds. Various domestic animal species give rise to breeds, which are essentially variations of a single species. It's fascinating to note that all of these breeds share a common ancestry. Consider, for instance, the diverse breeds of domestic pigeons, such as the English carrier pigeon. Surprisingly, these distinct breeds, along with all other pigeon breeds, can trace their origins back to the wild rock pigeon. Sir John Sebright, a renowned pigeon breeder who passed away in 1846, was renowned for his claim that he could produce a pigeon with any desired coloration or patterning in just 3 years. This intricate process is known as selection. This unintentional process, spanning hundreds of years of breeding, resulted in the fantail pigeon, characterized by a tail structure resembling that of a peacock. Idea number 2. Variation under nature. Variation under nature often results in the selection of traits that enhance an organism's survival, giving rise to distinct species over many generations. What if, akin to a breeder, nature had the ability to select organisms based on specific traits, thus creating not only new breeds but entirely novel species? This mechanism is what we term natural selection. Under this principle, all closely related species within the same genus can be traced back to a common ancestor. For instance, horses, zebras, and donkeys, all belonging to the Equus genus, would have evolved from a shared Equus ancestor over numerous generations. Idea number 3. Sexual selection and diversification. Sexual selection plays a role in generating variations too. In addition to the struggle for survival, male animals engage in competition to mate with females of their species. In response, females choose mates based on traits they find appealing, and over generations, these traits evolve into established variations. Take carnivorous quadrupeds, for example, which are meat-eating, four-legged creatures. In the past, there might have been just one species of carnivorous quadruped, reproducing and proliferating. However, as their offspring multiplied, not all could inhabit the same territory. To persist and multiply, these carnivorous quadrupeds had to expand into new regions to find fresh food sources. Some ventured into marshlands to prey on fish, while others explored forests for shelter and sustenance in the trees. Over time, this led to the development of new species uniquely adapted to their respective environments. For instance, those inhabiting estuaries evolved into what we now recognize as otters, while the tree dwellers became the modern sloth. Idea number 4. Diversity emerges from a multitude of processes. Nature generates an extensive array of variations, spanning from substantial beaks to webbed feet. You now understand that competition can induce some of these changes, but what about the others? Living conditions can also give rise to variations that natural selection subsequently refines. Climate, for example, can be a driving force behind certain variations. Consider the African mammoth, which thrived during the Ice Age when Africa was a snow-covered tundra. As the climate warmed and ice receded, the mammoth's thick fur became impractical and overheating was a concern. Reduced fur became advantageous, and over successive generations, natural selection transformed the African mammoth into the less furry southern mammoth. Lastly, closely related species often share common variations. Many horses feature zebra-like stripes on their legs, while others exhibit donkey-like stripes on their shoulders. Some horses still retain stripes from earlier generations, while zebras consistently inherit them. From a creationist standpoint, explaining such shared similarities becomes a challenge. If all species were created in their present forms, it raises the question of why horses, donkeys, and zebras all display analogous stripes. Idea number 5. Instincts and sterility and crossbreeding. So, descent with modification shows how different species emerge, but what else can it explain? Well, according to this theory, natural selection also modifies instincts over time, explaining the wide variety of instincts we see in nature. Honeybees have an instinct to make geometrically perfect cells in their hives, and birds have an instinct to build sturdy nests. Such instincts would form in very much the same way as bodily structures. According to this theory, this natural selection of traits inadvertently prevents different species from procreating with one another through variations in their reproductive systems. As a result, most crossing of species produce few or no offspring, and you can't successfully mate a dog with a cat to produce a new species. When two species are successfully crossed, they tend to produce sterile offspring. A prime example of this is the mule, which is a cross between a horse and a donkey and only very rarely produces offspring. However, in our theory, natural selection doesn't explicitly select for sterility. Rather, sterility is a byproduct of nature's selection for other traits. Idea number 6. Imperfect geological records. The theory of descent with modification posits that numerous transitional species paved the way for our current species. However, the fossil record offers limited evidence of these intermediates. This limitation stems from the incomplete nature of our fossil record and the unexplored rock formations worldwide containing the remains of past species. Furthermore, not all animals can undergo fossilization, as it requires bones or shells and burial under sediment. This aquatic sediment is essential to preserve these structures, contributing to the scarcity of fossils from land-dwelling animals. The fossil record also illustrates that once a species vanishes, it does not reappear. This is logical, as the ancestral form that produced it is already extinct. Idea number 7. Geographical distribution. Natural selection impacts where species live. Different parts of the world support distinct species. To understand this, we have 3 rules. Rule number 1. Identical conditions don't guarantee the same species in different places. For instance, South America and Australia share similarities, yet the emu is exclusive to Australia. Rule number 2. Migration barriers create differences. Separated by an ocean, Africa and Australia host dissimilar life forms. But connected lands like Central and South America have more similar species. Rule number 3. Species on the same continent resemble each other, like the South American agouti and vizcacha with unique habitat-specific traits. These rules fit with the idea that species change over time and move to new places. Some species can't move because of things like oceans, while others, like birds, are really good at moving and help other species travel too. For example, ducks can carry tiny clams on their feet, and birds can carry plant seeds in the mud on their bodies. Idea number 8. Descent with modification explains class-based organism similarities. Scientists classify similar organisms into classes based on common features. For example, animals with mammary glands belong to the Mammalia class and are called mammals. Within this class, specific features lead to further groupings, such as the order Rodentia for mammals with continuously growing incisors in both upper and lower jaws, like mice. Comparing organisms within the same class reveals striking similarities. Humans, moles, and bats, all mammals, exhibit analogous bone structures in their hands, despite their diverse functions like grasping, digging, or flying. As descendants migrated to different environments, natural selection favored adaptation suitable for each habitat, resulting in modified hands. Natural selection readily accounts for these similarities, while creationism struggles, requiring the belief that a creator intentionally designed groups of similar species, a less plausible explanation. In summary, the evidence supports the theory that species have evolved over time from common ancestors, rather than being individually created by God. Thanks for watching. Feel free to share your insights in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.